Okay, so here's the little op shop stool. The first step to refinishing and recovering this is just to unscrew the legs, and these ones just quite simply unscrew. So that's the first step. The next step is to just remove these tacks, and I'm just using a staple remover. This is really handy if you're removing upholstery. So you just get underneath it and just pop it up like that, and out it comes. Quite often you will find that this looks like an old curtain or something. This is actually not the original fabric that was on this stool. You'll find a sneaky surprise underneath that you will see here. This is probably the original fabric on the stool. So there you go. We've got another layer to take off, or you could do what they did and just recover over the top of that, but that's interesting. Now, because this underside is looking a little saggy right here, I am going to remove these, whatever they're called, little tacks. So to do that, I've got the staple remover, but let me see if I can get under here with one hand. I can lift it a little bit, but sometimes it doesn't budge, so then I grab the pincers to see if I can get a hold of that a little better and lift it right out. So with that cloth section removed, we can see the webbing underneath is still really nicely intact, and I think I'll just go ahead and remove this and see what we've got there for the stuffing. I've removed all those tacks now, and so this is a little bit of bias that they would have sewn to the outside of that, so we just remove that now, and you can see underneath there. I just want to see how they've actually sewn the corners of this seat. So this is good to hold on to, just to use as a pattern for when I cut out the next, my fabric. Now to pick the fabric, what will I use? Now the next thing I want to do while I'm deciding on the fabric is to work on these legs here. You can see they've been quite scratched up, but it looks like the varnish is going to come off fairly easy. So I'm just going to grab my Sandy Hands sanding glove here and give them a bit of a scuff. Look at that, it's coming off fairly easily. So I want to get back to the raw wood so that I can do some kind of finishing oil on that. It'll come up so nicely. Yeah. So I have my fabric here from the old stool, and I'm just going to create from this lovely linen. I've marked out here the edges of how far this template comes out. This is my template. And I've also marked these little corners here, because what I'll do is I'll stitch up those corners at that spot there and create the little seat cushion for the stool. I'm also going to measure out some of this exact same fabric as the backing for the stool for underneath. So I'm measuring that out, taking it to the edges so that I have room to wrap it under and tack it down on the base. Okay, I have it upside down on the fabric, and I've just tacked or pinned the sides on here so I can pull this up as a corner, and I've pinned right here and all the way up to here so that when I take it off, that's where I'm going to stitch on these lines, and do that with each corner. So I've trimmed off the excess here and then just placed it on, and it's fitting snugly. So now I'll just go back out to my workshop and staple the edges. Usually staple the center of each side first. Just pulling it tight. Here, just tucking the folds. You don't want it too tight though, because otherwise then it'll get too stretched on the other side. So I kind of do this and then I flip it over and check it. sure it's all sitting flat and it's not pulling too tight on any of the sides. So yeah, that's going to be great. So I've stapled further along each edge until you get to about here, and now it's time to do the corners. So to do those, here's where we've stitched up the edge. I'm just going to pull that, tuck it under, pull it as far as you can towards the centre of the corner, if that makes sense, and staple that one staple there. And then we're going to pick and just kind of slightly tuck, because you don't want the tuck to come down any further than that. You're trying to pull that tight and get it as tight as you can up on the edge. And just put as many staples as you need to just give it a nice, neat. So you just don't want any bulk, or the least amount of bulk is better. So we've got a little bit of a tuck coming down there. Let's see if I can push it down a little bit further. We're going to get another one there. So sometimes it works. There you go, just to show you that I did eventually get it. That side was a little bit tricky. There's a little bit of a wonky one here. You could actually take that staple out and just pull the fabric a little bit more if you wanted to, but as long as it's sitting flat along this edge here, that's fine. So one more corner to go. Now that we've got all our corners done, I'm now placing the fabric that's just going to be our underneath the seat fabric right here. Now I just do need to remember that I've got to remember there's room for the holes for the legs to go in there. So pull each end taut, pull the sides taut, and then we staple all around the edges. Okay, so now I'm putting the legs on. So I just feel for the hole right about here, and I'm just going to cut a little mark here with my Stanley knife. Anyway, when I do that, and I put the leg in, the other trick I'm going to do is I'm putting a little bit of newspaper under here, because what I have not done yet is stained these. So I'm going to use some stain and finishing oil, and I don't want to get it on the cloth. The reason I'm doing it here is because if I just stained these, which I was about to, on the table, then I would have to put them down, and then the sticky stain would be getting on the table. It's just a hassle. You have to kind of stand them up to actually do it properly. They don't really stand up by themselves. So, top tip, I'm putting that in there, then I'm going to stain them. I'm using Fusion Stain and Finishing Oil in the colour Golden Pine, because these have already got that lovely golden colour. So here's my sock on the hand trick again. And I'm just going to go, see how I can go right down to that newspaper now. It's not going to touch the fabric. And it also helps hold up. Oh, and I can turn it around, even better. Sorry, I'm trying to do camera and hold this at the same time. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, I just wanted to show you a comparison. So I've done these 3 legs, and this was the original raw wood. So I've sanded that back, and now it's looking great. Actually, the light's a little bit dark here.